The following is a college course based on the textbooks Marketing and Marketing the Core, written by Karen Berkowitz Hartley and Rodelius, and published by McGraw-Hill Irwin Publishers. Around the world, more than 1 billion people live in substandard housing or have no home at all. But one organization is aggressively meeting this need, nail by nail and brick by brick. They crafted a unique mission, then executed that mission with careful analysis and planning. So in more than 85 countries worldwide, Habitat for Humanity International links its marketing and corporate strategies to build houses, communities, and hope. Since its founding in 1976, Habitat for Humanity International has successfully raised money and recruited volunteers in an effort to end substandard housing around the world. The organization has succeeded because it has been able to link its marketing strategy, or the means by which it attains specific marketing goals, with its corporate strategy. That is, the overall mission and plans that drive its business. In this way, Habitat has effectively defined its organization and set a clear strategic direction. Habitat for Humanity is shaped by its origins as a faith-based, non-denominational organization.
Habitat's origins can be traced back to biblical times when Christ charged his followers with responding to the needs of the less fortunate, whether it was providing food for them, clothing, housing them, or visiting them in prison.
Habitat is rooted in human need, originally the needs of people in Sumter County, Georgia. Inspired by a local grassroots effort to provide simple, decent housing, Linda and Millard Fuller formulated the idea that has grown into Habitat's worldwide mission and strategic plan.
They looked at the landscape of Sumter County. The living conditions, the housing conditions of so many of its residents were absolutely deplorable. And they came up with this concept of partnership housing to help them, but to help them in a different kind of way. And so a lot of the principles that you see in Habitat for Humanity really came about from the very beginning, the idea of sweat equity, that these houses would not be given to people, but that people would have to help build the house.
One of the common misconceptions about Habitat for Humanity is that we're a charity. There's really nothing charitable about Habitat. We don't give away something to families. We actually provide a hand up, not a handout.
Although Habitat doesn't consider itself a charity, it is a nonprofit organization and not a business firm. A business firm is operated to generate a profit, which is the money left over after expenses are subtracted from revenues. A nonprofit business such as Habitat is a non-government organization that doesn't have profit as one of its primary goals. In a nonprofit organization, any revenues in excess of expenses are reinvested into the organization. However, both nonprofit and for-profit organizations need to ask themselves fundamental questions to determine their purpose and direction. The first question many organizations ask is, what is our business?
In essence, Habitat does three things. We raise money, we organize volunteers, and we use those two resources to build homes.
Once an organization understands its business, it can define its mission and vision. A mission identifies the overall purpose and function of an organization, while the vision defines what the company strives to achieve or become.
A mission, to my way of thinking, is the sole purpose, what is deep within the organization. The mission becomes the template against which we measure future decisions and what things are considered when paths in the road present an option to go in one direction or another.
With Habitat, we've seen the power of a compelling mission. People know that our mission is around providing simple, decent housing. Our vision is very simple. We envision a world where there is no substandard housing, that every single human being is able to live in a simple, decent house.
Without a shared vision, without a common sense of purpose, without the same standards being used to make day-to-day decisions, an organization will not flourish, and in fact, they'll have a hard time staying together because there will be elements that want to take it in different directions, and without discipline, without containment, that can easily happen, and the diffusion erodes the infrastructure that supports the organization.
This infrastructure includes the organization's stakeholders, those groups and individuals inside or outside the organization that have an investment or stake in how well the organization performs.
In Habitat, we have a lot of stakeholders. Our homeowners are stakeholders. I think they are full partners in this ministry. I think our donors are obvious stakeholders. They think so much of the organization that they contribute financial resources, and they have a stake in what we do with that money. I think our affiliates are stakeholders. They are very much dependent upon what we do and what other affiliates do. Anybody who volunteers is a stakeholder in this organization.
Located around the globe, Habitat affiliates or local chapters put the organization's resources to work in each community. Much of what Habitat accomplishes at both the affiliate and the international level depends on committed volunteers.
Volunteers are important for Habitat because they make up the foundation of this organization. I help Habitat accomplish its mission by doing a job that in the for-profit world they would have to spend 3 to 4 times as much on an employee to do the job that I do here for Habitat as a volunteer, by supporting the office, by helping to plan events, by helping the affiliates write materials and promoting Habitat and promoting the project that they're working on.
The final group would be our own employees. We have an awful lot of folks who gave up very lucrative careers to come work for Habitat for Humanity.
There's one other thing that I wanted to pass on to you guys.
Within an organization, these stakeholders ultimately operate within a culture and adhere to a set of values. Values are a set of fundamental and enduring beliefs, while a culture is a system of shared values or common behaviors and philosophies.
Values of Habitat in comparison to some other nonprofits really draw me back to this organization because I truly believe that Habitat is accountable for the mission that it says it's trying to do. I really believe that the integrity of the people who work here and the integrity of the people who work in the affiliates is really heartfelt and meaningful.
Based on its mission, vision, and values, an organization can establish its goals or objectives, meaning the specific levels of performance that an organization wants to achieve. Goals provide a way to measure how well the mission is being accomplished. Business firms establish different kinds of goals. For example, certain levels of profit or market share. Market share is the ratio of the firm's sales revenue divided by the total sales revenue of all the firms in the industry. Nonprofit organizations, on the other hand, typically set goals that reflect a desire to serve their target market with the greatest efficiency.
Right now, Habitat for Humanity is building about 20,000 houses a year around the world. A little under 6,000 of those are in the United States, but 20,000 in total. It took us nearly 24 years to build our first 100,000 houses. But because of our expansion, because of the generosity of our donors and supporters, we now see that we can build that next 100,000 homes in only 5 years.
Once it has established a mission, a shared vision, and clearly defined goals, an organization can work to set its corporate strategy. Setting a strategic direction requires an organization to ask itself, where are we now, and where do we want to go in the future? To answer these questions, an organization must identify its customers, its competencies or special capabilities, and its competitors. For Habitat, identifying its customers wasn't easy.
The board, with senior staff, spent an entire day analyzing exactly who we serve. And the conclusion was, we really exist at the behest of our donors. They are our customers. If they continue to believe that their contributions, their charitable donations to our work are being responsibly and efficiently managed, then our future is much more promising. But our competency is matching people with a desire to share the goodness in their lives with the people who have been long-suffering and needing a better place to live. We recruit, train, and empower volunteers. And that really is one of our strongest core competencies.
While Habitat for Humanity doesn't have a competitor per se, they do compete for nonprofit dollars from the public, private, and community sectors. This compels them to stay abreast of what other nonprofits are doing.
Certainly the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, at least, are a comparable organization that we measure ourselves against. The Salvation Army, because of the faith connection and the community service, is an organization that we look to compare our successes against theirs.
Once managers have answered the question, where are we now, they can ask themselves, where do we want to go? Two methods are often used to address this question: a business portfolio analysis and a market product analysis.
Portfolio analysis is looking at who we are and how we're doing what we say we're going to do. I think that allows us to see where we're doing a good job, what areas are we really achieving what we intended, and where are we not, where do we need to shift the direction.
A market product analysis is a way to evaluate an organization's products to determine how they address the wants and needs of their target market.
Market product analysis is a process by which you would look at the various things that you could produce or that you could offer the market in terms of what are your core capabilities. You look at marketing as a process, you really look at it from two standpoints. One is, what are those things that you wish to accomplish? What are your goals? In our case, it's number of houses and how much, how many housing starts and how many affiliates do we have out there. On the other hand, you have to look at, well, what's really at place in the market? And that could be, in our terms, it's who gives, how much they give, why do they give, what is the market really kind of looking at, and what are we looking at?
Based on the business portfolio or market product analysis, organizations such as Habitat set their overall corporate strategy. With that agreed upon, they begin to focus more specifically on marketing through the strategic marketing process, which helps an organization allocate resources to reach different target markets. The results of this process are formalized into a marketing plan, which describes the marketing strategies and activities of the organization during a specified period of time.
I think it's important for every business, every organization to have a strategic marketing process. Number one, it gives you a plan, and there is the basis for a plan. Number two, it gives you something to look at and say, when you make a decision on a day-to-day basis, what's the basis for that decision? And third, it sets a priority. The strategic marketing process at Habitat is to look at what are those programs that we're offering, where are we making progress in those programs, and then say, how can we advance those programs forward?
For both business firms and nonprofit organizations, the strategic marketing process involves 3 steps: planning, implementation, and control. The planning phase of the strategic marketing process often begins with a situation analysis, in which senior managers assess the organization's ability to meet the needs of the market. One way of doing this is by using a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal characteristics of the organization, which are more controllable, whereas opportunities and threats are factors in the external environment that can't easily be controlled.
A SWOT is really looking both internally and externally at your strengths, weaknesses, and the opportunities and threats that exist in the environment. But it's like any tool, and almost all the work that you do before you actually identify your strategies or your strategic directions is gather data.
When we use the SWOT analysis at Habitat for Humanity, we primarily use it when we're creating a marketing plan. We use it inside of the plan when we're targeting specific audiences, specific programs, so we can better understand who we should target with specific programs.
In the next step in the planning process, managers determine which products or services will be directed toward which customers. To accomplish this, they use a process called market segmentation that identifies the segments of the market on which the organization will focus its efforts.
Market segmentation divides up the general public into different areas or segments that we're going to target. We are able to then use the different segments to attract people to become volunteers, to become donors, to become sponsors, such as our Women Build department. That department focuses their attention on marketing towards other women, getting women involved in an environment that they may not otherwise feel comfortable on.
Once an organization has segmented its users or buyers into groups, it can target its most likely customers.
Habitat for Humanity has many different target markets. We try to attract people who would be volunteers, donors, sponsors, and homeowners. And within each of those different categories, there's different segments of the population or different markets in the population that Habitat will try to attract in different ways.
That takes a little more development, but it's a good way to think about your audience and say, who really has the attitude that's going to be best for us to reach? And in our case, it could be people who really, maybe empty nesters, for example. It isn't just that they're empty nesters, that they don't have children at home anymore, that they're retired or semi-retired in some cases. It's that they have free time, and they have an attitude of now paying back. The most critical thing that you have to face in creating any kind of a marketing plan is to really figure out what the points of difference are, or as I like to say, the points of distinction. It isn't what makes you the best, it's what makes you different sometimes. Point of difference for Habitat is that we're very tangible. People who participate with us reach a real high level of personal satisfaction. Now, how do you use that? Well, you have to make sure that your messages match up to that you're talking about those things.
Once managers have segmented their markets and identified their target markets, they're ready to set specific goals for each segment.
When we set marketing goals, we don't really have a product to sell, so to speak. So our goals tend to be more of our organizational goals. That is, how many houses are we going to build, how many people we're going to reach. But then when we break it down on the marketing level, we say, okay, therefore, what kind of funds do we need? So typical marketing goals in our programs are going to be how many different events do we need to stage to achieve this kind of level of fundraising.
After goal setting, the managers develop a marketing program that details how the organization will use its marketing mix, the elements of product, price, promotion, and place.
A marketing program is really your link between what would be traditionally called your sales program and your corporate objectives, or organizational objectives in our case. So you might say, we really want to do this, and therefore we have to sell, we have to reach, we have to encourage the audience to do something, that action that they need to take. And the marketing program really becomes the link between that.
Habitat's marketing program is important to the overall organization because it's the way that people can understand what Habitat is. It's the way that we communicate to everybody around the world about Habitat and the work that we're doing. We use marketing to attract people to come and join the mission, to be able to build, to support us, to donate, to be involved in different organizations or different projects and events that we have going on.
Once an organization has completed the planning phase of the strategic marketing process, it must implement the process by executing the marketing program. This often begins with obtaining resources.
Habitat really looks at resources in two primary ways. One is monetary resources, funds to help us build, and the other is volunteer time. It's easier to get people to volunteer than it is to get them to donate money. So monetary resources we do a variety of different ways. We do individuals, so we use direct marketing techniques for that, direct mail in a lot of cases. We do programs in which people can do Gifts from the Heart, which is a program in which people give a certain amount of money, $250 for a door for a house would be a typical thing.
Since 1993, we've donated over $2.5 million in tools and vehicles, plus
and corporate fundraising comes in one of two ways too, because it comes in terms of dollars, it also comes in terms of material.
With the proper resources in place, managers can design the structure of their marketing organization.
Habitat marketing organizationally is designed pretty much functionally, and that is we have a public relations and publicity group, we have a marketing and brand strategy group, we have a creative services group, which is really a design and production group. Now, interestingly enough, a nonprofit organization has marketing functions that exist across the organization. A little different than for-profit organizations, because in a non-for-profit, everybody's job is to sort of move the marketing, asking people for help. But we do look at, are we raising funds? Are we comparing year to year? Are we moving product? Are the individual items helping us move forward and collect funds and support our overall marketing program? Executing our marketing program and plan really takes two efforts. One is, what are the components that we're going to enact? That is, what are the individual programs in terms of, is it material we have to produce? Is it an audience we have to reach? What are the physical, tangible things? And secondly, who's responsible? Who's authorized? Who needs to do it? So it's this, what I call the process side of it, and then the people side of it.
Executing a marketing program requires both marketing strategy, or the means by which a goal is achieved, and marketing tactics, the detailed day-to-day decisions and actions that enable the marketing strategy to succeed. While the entire marketing team helps plan strategy, individual departments develop specific tactics during implementation, according to their particular situation.
Strategies and tactics, I think a lot of people get confused. Strategy, at least in my view, is sort of the how are we going to do this? Tactic is, well, then what are we going to do? A strategy has to have behind it a sort of place and time. So strategy says, here's where we are, we want to get over here, how do we get there? And then the tactic is, okay, well, then what are we going to do to get there? So an example would be, a strategy might be that we want to tell people that we do a better job in terms of raising funds when you have a group involved as opposed to individuals. So you might say, okay, the strategy in this case is to figure out how do you get a group of people involved in raising funds. So a tactic might be, well, then let's maybe focus on corporations that are looking for leadership programs.
The third and final phase of the strategic marketing process is the control phase. This is when organizations compare results with goals, identify any deviations, and make necessary changes or corrections.
Control phase at Habitat is more of a process by which we check and balance our efforts. One is we involve a lot of our affiliates in that process. We make sure that we understand that what we're doing maybe doesn't necessarily meet all of their objectives, but at least it doesn't conflict with all their objectives. Next, we've got to make a control phase to make sure that are we saying this and doing things in line in which we want to do this. So the control phase a lot of times for us is reviewing copy and reviewing what we write and what we say about it. A lot of times you find that you end up deviating from your plan. It might be something in your control where you make a conscious decision and say, I need to change my plan because of either something I found out, something didn't work as well as we thought, we didn't end up having the resources we thought.
Even with a well-planned marketing strategy, managers at Habitat for Humanity know they must respond to a changing world.
Good marketing program has to stay dynamic from year to year, from month to month. And at the end of that year or 2 years or 3 years, you might say, gee, we're starting to make progress there. But all of a sudden, there's another opportunity to reach another audience over here. So you've got to start another program that maybe starts out at square one. The successful organization has various programs at different stages of development.
Habitat for Humanity can consider itself successful if it meets its current marketing goals. However, to ensure future success, the organization must continually adjust its marketing strategy in order to increase the number of homes it hopes to build during the next 10 to 20 years.
Habitat's been very successful at what it's done and using the methodology that it has, building simple, decent houses, building with people, no interest, long-term mortgages. But we have not achieved the scale that we want to achieve. And in order for us to do that, we have got to look outside the box and start to look at doing things differently, adding to our methods.
At Habitat for Humanity International, and for successful businesses around the world, the strategic marketing process is critical because it links marketing to overall organizational strategies. This enables both for-profit and non-profit organizations to better utilize their resources and achieve their specific goals. In today's global marketplace, the arrival of new competitors and technologies often make existing plans obsolete. Therefore, successful organizations must evolve over time, constantly refining their mission, goals, and marketing program to meet ever-changing needs.